Welcome back to the Play-by-Play podcast. This is a bonus episode where today we'll be taking a look at the two recent acquisitions of Russell Wilson to the New York Giants and Stefon Diggs to the New England Patriots. We'll be taking a look at how both players plug into the two separate teams' offenses and probably most importantly, how this affects the upcoming NFL draft going forward. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, come on, man, what are you doing? Go ahead and follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those ads are going to be down below, and you already know about it. There's going to be a bar popping up right here. And without further ado, guys, the commentary on the Giants and Patriots free agencies starts right now. So we're back, and we are back at a time in the NFL where it honestly seems to be a little bit of a lull right now. We're kind of going through that little bit of a weird period where, free agents, the big time free agents have already been signed. The big time free agent days have already passed us. We're going through that transition where we just have a couple more weeks left till the NFL draft. People are putting out their mock drafts, who they think they're going to sign. But a lot of people, I think, in my opinion, really felt that NFL free agency was pretty much over. I mean, all the big time signings had really gone, but there were still a couple of big time names out there that still hadn't found a home yet. Two of which were signed late last night, right after I actually got home from a newscast that I was help producing. Russell Wilson to the New York Giants and Stefon Diggs to the New England Patriots out of absolute nowhere. Now, not out of complete nowhere when it comes to Russell Wilson, because we did know that he was shopping around his services a little bit. He was having meetings with New York. He was having meetings with Cleveland. He was trying to figure out what the best spot was for him. And he ends up going to New York on a 1-year, $10.5 million deal. Now, thoughts on this, to be honest, it's a rental. It really is a rental for the New York Giants. I think that we really do need to understand that. This move is basically Brian Daboll throwing all of his chips in, right? Trying to do whatever he can to make the best possible, the best talented team that he can to go out and compete this season, potentially grab himself, a 500 or winning type season and keep his job and potentially get a contract extension, because the Giants have spoken about it, that this is really him and even GM Joe Schoen's last year to really prove themselves, especially with the big mistake of allowing Saquon Barkley to march off to a division rival in Philadelphia. Now, with Russell Wilson, what does this really do for the New York Giants offense? Well, to be honest, not much. And I don't say that just purely based off of Russell Wilson. I mean, the dude has had a pretty up and down career now that you put it on a big timeline. Obviously went to Seattle, wasn't really predicted to really be much. I believe it was a third or fourth round pick coming into Seattle. Ends up leading Seattle to 2 straight Super Bowls, wins his first one in a blowout game against a big time legendary Hall of Fame quarterback in Peyton Manning and my fellow Denver Broncos. He then heads to fellow Denver Broncos, and really the situation that he was in Denver, really a lot of it was not his fault. Sure, he had a couple of really bad decisions, but there were some really bad coaching on the hands of Nathaniel Hackett in his first year with Denver. And then, of course, him and Sean Payton, it just wasn't something that emotionally, personality-wise, really lined up for them. And so he ends up getting booked to Pittsburgh, where he ends up having, once again, kind of an up-and-down year. He, like in Denver, had to kind of deal with a one-dimensional type offense where you're basically relying on draws from Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, or a straight streak route to George Pickens down the left side. I mean, that was basically what Pittsburgh's offense was. They didn't have a really great, solid offensive line, but he still manages to lead them, to 9-10 games, a playoff spot. And yes, he lost his last, 4 or 5 remaining games, including both regular season and in the playoffs, but still took a Steelers team that a lot of people were not expecting to really do much. And it takes a Steelers team that at the beginning of the year, he wasn't even their starter. He had an injury. Justin Fields obviously plugged in there and was there for the first 2 or 3 games in that little bit of a quarterback duel. But now he heads to New York, and it's a situation that really is a lot worse than even the situation that he had in Pittsburgh. Only has one true real weapon at the wide receiver position with Malik Neighbors, who still, while he had a very great and productive season as a wide receiver, is still only a second-year wide receiver. There still is youth. There still is room to grow for him. You have Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. Definitely a guy that showed some promise and somebody that a lot of people had their eyes on last season. Now going into this season, I think a lot of people are expecting them to have a big-time jump. But the problem for that is the interior of the offensive line isn't great. You do have one franchise tackle in Andrew Thomas, but Evan Neal on the opposite side has not showed promise. And outside of Malik Neighbors, there really isn't a lot more to go off of. Their number 2 wide receiver is Darius Slayton, I believe. Their tight end is pretty much useless. They pretty much, I wouldn't even say that they have a tight end at that position. No really tight end threat. And while the defense is okay, it's not really something to really, get excited over, right? It's not something that you would really match up to when it comes to, teams such as, Denver, right? The Denver Broncos, with teams such as, even San Francisco last year, with just the pure amount of talent they have. Sure, they have guys like Kayvon Thibodeau. They signed Brian Burns last year. They still have Dexter Lawrence in the middle, but there are still a lot of areas in this defense, especially in that secondary area, where they need to really, really improve. Now, luckily, with signing Russell Wilson, and this is going to be a point that I'm going to continue to go through throughout this episode, this does give the New York Giants a lot of options within the NFL draft. This basically guarantees that, number one, they are not going to be taking a quarterback in the NFL draft unless they want to take maybe a Shedeur Sanders, somebody who does not have as high of a ceiling as Cam Ward, and put Shedeur behind Russell for 1 year, have him learn behind him, because Russell, he is a solid mentor. He is somebody who is very willing to play that role, and then push Russell to the side after year 1 and then plug in Shedeur year 2. They could definitely do that. But if you're Brian Daboll, if you're trying to put the best team together, and you are more than likely you are guaranteed to have a selection of either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at number 3, unless quarterback is just a completely under-prioritized position with Tennessee and Cleveland, which, seeing as Tennessee has really been looking after Cam Ward over the past couple of weeks, is not looking like a possibility. But you have a big-time possibility to bring in a playmaking type player, whether it's Travis Hunter being able to play both sides of the ball, especially filling in at that number 1 cornerback role, and then possibly filling in, adding some speed to the offense alongside Malik Neighbors, or Abdul Carter, who is just an absolute beast, and adding him to that linebacking core with Kayvon Thibodeau, with Brian Burns. Even, he's very versatile, pushing him down to the defensive line and putting him next to Dexter Lawrence. That could be an amazing, amazing pass rush, especially in an NFC East division right now that is really, really competitive. Super Bowl champs Philadelphia Eagles. Washington Commanders obviously made the NFC Conference Championship last year. And Dallas, I mean, they're always really, really scrappy. They're always going to be in that mix for anywhere to 6 to 9 games, with guys like Dak and CeeDee Lamb at their disposal. So the NFC East right now, super duper competitive. The Giants need to get more competitive. And with that, they open up their draft spot with Russell Wilson coming in. They're guaranteeing that they're not going to draft the quarterback. And now you can get a big time playmaker from either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. The question that I do have, though, is if they do not go quarterback in the first round, if they do not want Shedeur Sanders to sit behind Russell Wilson, what is their future plan? I mean, you always do have to look ahead, especially with big-time signings. And the fact is, this is a 1-year deal that also allows the New York Giants to compete. So if you are a bad team that is looking out and trying to grab Arch Manning in next year's draft, the New York Giants, if they do their job right, if they're able to get a big-time playmaker, if Russell Wilson is willing to work out in New York, they're going to be in the mix for 6, 7, 8, potentially 9 wins, because that's really the target number that Daboll needs. They're not going to be in the running for a young quarterback. So this really makes me think that maybe quarterback in the first round isn't in the cards for them, but second, third, fourth, the New York Giants would be at the top of my list to go with some of these more mid-round quarterbacks. Will Howard, Jackson Dart has gotten a lot more attention. Jalen Milroe is still out there and has an incredibly high ceiling that I think a lot of people have not realized yet. You have Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, those type of guys who, maybe they're not going to grow very much, but they are seasoned college veterans and they have certain traits about them that can translate right away to the NFL. I would look for the New York Giants in those mid rounds to potentially look for one of those guys moving forward, because they're going to need an option behind Russell Wilson, and they are not going to get it in next year's draft. So the real question is do I think that they can compete? Do I think that this is going to be a move that ends up paying off? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if you're able to draft a guy like Travis Hunter, who's a big-time playmaker, I think really the sky's the limit, especially for your offense. Malik Neighbors, Travis Hunter, Russell Wilson, franchise tackle there with Andrew Thomas, Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. it doesn't sound terrible, right? It's not amazing. It's not great, but it definitely is a good, passable, solid offense that is going to be able to put up points on the board. But then is the defense going to be able to hold things? That's the question. So is this move going to really pay off for Daboll and Schoen? We're really going to have to see. But with the interior of the offensive line not being great, with Tracy still, I believe, needing time to really develop, I could see the New York Giants maybe squeezing 6 or 7 wins, but I'm not sure if that's really going to be enough for Daboll to really convince New York's front office to be able to keep him around for another season. Now going ahead and moving on to the other deal, which is the New England Patriots. They went ahead and signed wide receiver Stefon Diggs, which was another guy that I was not fully aware of that was still on the market. I didn't even know that he was a free agent coming away from Houston, but he was still available. There was a lot of people that were kind of ducking and dodging him, right? Straying away. There wasn't really a lot of talk about a true destination for him. And I mean, you got to be honest. You can see why, right? I mean, when you take a look at Stefon Diggs, 31 years old, right? Had a big time injury with the Houston Texans last year. What did he tear his ACL, I believe, that kept him out for a majority of the season. I believe by the time that, preseason, that the regular season rolls around, he will not have been on the NFL field for about 10 to 11 months. Only played 8 games last year as a Houston Texan, and really wasn't very productive in his time there. 496 yards, so maybe could have edged out maybe an 1,000-yard season right there. 3 touchdowns, so maybe solid scoring production from him, but definitely a step back from where he was when he ended his tenure with the Minnesota Vikings and when he started his tenure with the Buffalo Bills. And also somebody that has developed a little bit of an ego, right? A little bit of an attitude, has become a little bit of a hagger within the locker room. Not somebody that a lot of players really like to be around a lot of the time, especially with outreach of his brother Trayvon Diggs posting on Twitter with the Buffalo Bills, asking Josh Allen to give him the ball anymore, demanding that Josh Allen gives him the ball anymore. Not somebody that players and front offices are really, really high on right now. Not to mention the fact that the Patriots paid him a pretty big sum. 4 years, $69 million is a lot for a guy that is 31 years old and is coming off of pretty much his first big time injury, especially so late in his career. And now entering his third new offense in 3 years. And now entering a team with a defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel. Now, don't get me wrong, Vrabel is still an amazing strategist, still somebody that could definitely work the sticks on the offensive side and is going to be able to find ways to get Diggs the ball in the offense. But you also have to acknowledge that outside of this for the New England Patriots, especially receiving-wise, they don't have a lot outside of Diggs. So a lot of the defensive pressure is really going to be on both him and Drake May's connection to really make plays. Jalen Polk struggled a lot his rookie season. He had a couple of big-time drops. There was a lot of miscommunication between him and Drake May going down the field. And when you take a look at some of the other guys, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Butte that they had last year, Hunter Henry has been serviceable, but I wouldn't really say that he is a big-time game changer for the New England Patriots offense. So definitely a move that New England needed to make as far as talent-wise, plugging Diggs in. This is huge for them. Getting your rookie quarterback a number one receiver-type target, allowing your rookie quarterback to have a target like that is going to allow him to grow. And not to mention the fact we talked about how this affects the draft. This also guarantees to me that the New England Patriots are 100% going to be putting all of their focus on the offensive line this season. I mean, unless somebody like an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is able to fall to New England, I really don't see another scenario where New England doesn't go out and get themselves a franchise tackle, whether it's Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, Armand Membu out of the University of Missouri, Ariante Irsay. You have Josh Simmons from Ohio State. There are plenty of big-time offensive tackle options in this draft. The offensive line is definitely the big-time weak point for the New England Patriots going forward. You need to be able to protect Drake May. You need to be able to protect your rookie quarterback. And this really guarantees them to be able to do it. In my eyes, I think the most talented tackle on the board is definitely Will Campbell. I understand that there's a lot of concern just on his physicals, right, with the shorter arms, with kind of the inability to kind of get down to 4 point stance with his stature. I understand that there is concern there. But really, when you look at a lot of these tackles, a lot of them have short arms. A lot more of these tackles are becoming much more versatile to be able to slide inside to guard. And because Will Campbell does have that type of versatility, and I've talked about this in recent episodes with the recent mock draft, picking Will Campbell really does give you flexibility to put your best five out there when it comes to the offensive line. If they pick Will Campbell, obviously they're likely to have Morgan Moses start on the right. You'll have Will Campbell go to the left. But if maybe there's some spot on the inside that's not really performing very well, and so you move Will Campbell into the middle, and then maybe you start a Caden Wallace at left tackle and see how that works. So picking that just gives the Patriots offensive line options to roll with. Obviously, it's not going to be great options, and I'm not saying that this is going to be a top offensive line within the league by next year, but it continues to reinforce giving Drake May help and allowing him to really just experience the game of football, really, because he did not have very many opportunities to do that last year with so much pressure in his face, with such an inability to complete passes with his wide receiver talent. I'm expecting a big-time leap from Drake May this year as well, with more production and now with more weapons at his side, and with just a much better head coach who is very, very strategic, who is very, very experienced, has some big-time playoff experience against big-time coaches. I mean, the man faced his former coach and Bill Belichick and pretty much outdueled him in a playoff game. Drake May is in really, really great hands. The New England Patriots slowly but surely are beginning to turn this ship around ever since they lost Tom Brady in 2019. And that's all I have for you guys today, folks. So just a little bit of a recap to go over it. If I were to grade both of these signings, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give Russell Wilson a B- signing because I'm just not sure if it's a big-time needle mover with the lack of offense that the Giants have right now. I think it could potentially be enough to squeeze you to 6 or 7 wins, but with the purpose that it serves as competing as much as you can so that as a head coach and Brian Table is able to keep his job, I'm not really sure it serves that purpose. As for Stefon Diggs, I'm going to look at this as a B to B plus type of margin. I think the only reason why I am scoring it a little bit lower, not going into the A's with it, is just simply because of the amount of money that they gave him. He is going to be 35 years old by the time that he comes out of this contract. He is coming off of a big-time injury in his career where he is really, really aged at 31 years old. He'll be a year layoff by the next time that he touches the field. And I just think that it's going to be growing pains. But I do believe that it makes more flexibility for New England in the draft. It allows them to really lock down the offensive line, and it gives Drake May a number one receiver to lock with, to build chemistry with, and to grow with to start his career, which I think is going to instill some much needed confidence. So let me know what you guys think. What would you grade the Russell Wilson deal? What would you grade the Stefon Diggs deal? Who do you believe these two teams are going to be focusing on when it pertains to the NFL draft? And give me some win predictions for each one of these teams. Let me know what you guys think down in those comments. You already know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, what are you doing, man? Go ahead and follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of our ads are going to be down below, and you already know there's going to be a bar popping up right here. And without further ado, guys, I thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.